Who has done most damage to the royal family's reputation, top, with 32%, is the Prince of Wales. And were he and Mrs. Parker Bowles to marry...
Marry?
Over half the respondents say that he should not become king.
May I? Does the Prince's office see these polls?
I would imagine so, ma'am.
The royal family was coming out of its most unpopular period in living memory. Now the Queen's most important job was to win back the approval of the people.
The monarchy doesn't just have to be there, it has to be seen to be there, it has to be shown to be doing something worthwhile, and it has at times to explain itself.
This is the point at which the monarchy is taking polls and doing focus groups and all that kind of thing. The Queen is clearly going to want to take her time, make sure it's all right, and actually work on public opinion.
Allowing Camilla into the family would be a huge risk for the Queen. The polls clearly showed the people loathed her.
It makes me so...
If Charles had any hope of getting the Queen to accept Camilla, he would have to transform public opinion. So his next move was to send his spin doctor into action.
Well, Mark Bolan was a brilliant media manipulator. He'd worked for the Press Complaints Commission, was liked by editors across Fleet Street, was seen as somebody that could act as a bridge between the palace and the press. And he did so. Now, he was extremely clever in organising what was called Operation PB, which was Operation Parker Bowles.
Anybody who was asked to lead communications on behalf of the Prince of Wales would have and should have taken quite an aggressive approach.
Operation PB would be mounted like a military campaign.
Operation PB. Now what are we up against? The Queen.
Steady on, Mark.
Defender of the faith. She's against divorce, full stop. One of the great evils of society or something. She said it 50 years ago and she still believes it. And as if that's not bad enough, Her Majesty's hands are also tied, thanks to her mother and her sister. 50 years a widow, because Edward VIII jumped ship to marry a divorcee.
Even as a child of 10, the Queen had seen how fragile the monarchy could be in the face of an embarrassing liaison.
The whole business of the abdication was a real thing in the mind of the family, and they've always felt that the royal families hold on their position, hung by gossamer threads. They may look very confident when they appear in public, but they've always had this great uncertainty about whether the monarchy could really survive.
We can go up against the three biggest opponents of divorce in Britain. 150 years of anger, bitterness, devout belief. Or we can get the remaining 60 million people in the country on our side, which I would suggest would be considerably easier. And for that, we need the press.
The campaign team decided now was the time to bring Camilla out of the shadows, to make her acceptable to the British people with a massive PR launch at the Ritz Hotel in London.
I can remember walking past the Ritz and being absolutely gobsmacked by the ranks of photographers who had already taken up their positions. So it was clearly going to be a big thing.
Until now, Charles had risked public anger if he was seen with Camilla.
There had been captured glimpses. When should he be seen with her? What kind of place should it be? What sort of function? And down the road, privately as it were, when would they be allowed to be seen to be affectionate towards each other, hold a hand, have a kiss? That was being calibrated.
Prince Charles is due to arrive any time now to attend a 50th birthday party being given for the sister of his long-time love, Camilla Parker Bowles. Afterwards, it's expected, though not certain, that Charles and Camilla will be seen together in public for the first time.
The stunt was designed to establish Camilla as Charles's official companion. Charles was now publicly forcing the issue with the Queen.
As has happened down the centuries, that meant that there were sometimes tensions between his office and the Queen's office, who would have liked everybody to be as integrated and working to one script as possible.
Ritz. Your wretched uncle. He took that Simpson woman there. Men are men, dear.
The Prince of Wales and Camilla Parker Bowles seen together in public quite clearly, coming down the steps of the Ritz after the 50th birthday party for Camilla's sister. No secret about their relationship now, none possible at all. The photograph that people have waited so long, the picture that people have waited so long to see.
Shame no one turned up.
Madness, absolute madness.
It was a high-risk strategy. If the people accepted Camilla, surely the Queen would follow suit. Or would she?
77% agree it was a bad idea for them to be seen together.
Oh, Charles. The pitfalls of having a spin doctor.
Last year, that figure would have been closer to 90. More broadly, both the Prince and Mrs. Parker Bowles are polling far better. More people feel they should marry. More people feel that he'd make a good king.
Are these people aware that he will then be defender of the faith?
Hard to say, ma'am. Perhaps. Dimly.
I receive many letters from people who are only too keenly aware of it.
With great respect, ma'am, the polls are likely to be more representative.
Robin Jandrin took the view that Camilla was going to be part of the future furniture of Charles's life, and that there was really no point in going on, simply trying to close her off. So, as a kind of subtle arrangement, Charles's private secretary invited Robin Jandrin to meet Camilla.
No less than the Queen's own private secretary was quietly seeking ways to find a solution.
Is it really so old-fashioned to believe a vow made in church before God is a vow one should keep?
To many people, ma'am, it's a vow one should attempt to keep. To take too stern a view of those who
fail?
Could be seen as ungenerous, ma'am.
By now, even the church saw things from Charles's point of view. They too were ready to open negotiations with Camilla.
On the spur of the moment, I wrote her a letter. It was simply to say, I'd love to meet you, which we did. We met in one of my children's home in Dulwich, and I felt she was a tremendously straightforward, very charming person. I had to do this because I didn't want to join the voices of condemnation.
And then, Charles's camp pushed things yet further.
Tonight, Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles are together on the luxury yacht Alexander, taking their first foreign holiday with family. It's a trip which is causing some tension because Charles, here boarding a flight to Greece with Prince Harry, did not consult the Queen. It's said that William himself suggested that Mrs. Parker Bowles be invited on the cruise around the Aegean. But any suggestion that the Queen, or indeed the Queen Mother, might soon meet Camilla has been very firmly ruled out.
The Queen was refusing to deal with the Camilla problem. But avoiding the issue was storing up difficulties for the monarchy, not to mention her son and heir.
I know there are people, including Prince Charles, who feels that in many ways she's behaved as if she was the last monarch, rather than preparing for the future. So it's been a glorious holding operation, but she's not moved it forward.
It was left to Robin Jandrin to persuade the Queen that something would have to give.
The Prince of Wales is hosting a birthday reception for King Constantine of Greece, ma'am.
Oh, he's great fun.
For a man voted out by his own people, he does remain remarkably cheerful. It's his 60th, ma'am.
We're all growing so old. I'd love to see him.
The reception is at Highgrove.
Oh. Some other time, perhaps. What's next in the entree?
The location need not rule out your going, ma'am.
Will she?
Forgive me.
Will she not be there?
I have checked with St. James Palace, and she will be there, ma'am.
My position is clear, Robin.
The Prince's approval ratings have been at around 60% for several months. And in response to the question, do you think the Queen should or should not meet Camilla Parker Bowles?
Should I meet Mrs. Parker Bowles?
Very brief encounter? At a private, unofficial event?
No.
Public opinion would certainly be in favour of a discreet acknowledgement. Not to approve, just to acknowledge.
I think she finally agreed to acknowledge Camilla Parker Bowles, because Janvrin was able to convince her that she was never going to have the sort of relationship she ought to have with her son and the heir to the throne unless she at least acknowledged Camilla.
For as long as anyone could remember, the Queen had never wanted the name Camilla Parker Bowles uttered in her presence. Now, she had agreed to attend a lunch party at Highgrove, where she would acknowledge her son's mistress for the first time.
I understand Greece is going to have some sort of cultural Olympiad next year.
Yes, indeed. They might even allow their former king to attend.
Helen, would you excuse us a moment?
Charles, we're talking.
It's quite all right. Please.
Having a good time?
Where is she then?
This way.
It's all right, Charles. I can do this by myself.
Your Majesty.
Mrs. Parker Bowles. The gardens at Highgrove are looking particularly stunning at this time of year. I gather you had quite a hand in that.
Thank you, Mom. Yes.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I must be getting back to the guest of honor.
Your Majesty.